The running back position has been a roller coaster this season. I swear, every week you have to sit there, panic on a few guys where 2 weeks later they're, going out there and giving you top 5 running back finishes. We got a lot of players to talk about here, some rookies that I'm excited to look into, but before we get into anything, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in that comment section. And of course, in that comment section, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy with all these cool player props. My favorite right now is going to be the Garrett Wilson line at 50. I'd go take that before they move it up. And also, when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $200. So it's pretty much free to check out. And only with promo code FLOCK, I cannot be more excited that we were able to get you all this. Are you going to get a free Patrick Mahomes bet? So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. But I think that should be about it. Let's go through. Let's dive into these running backs. We'll talk about Josh Jacobs for just 1 second. Y'all know I cannot shut up about Josh Jacobs, my most drafted player in fantasy this year. I've probably annoyed you enough already, but we will just mention what happened. Josh Jacobs has over 700 total yards. Josh Jacobs, 33 carries. Josh Jacobs, 7 targets. And now if you're looking at a half PPR format, Josh Jacobs is the number 1 running back from a points per game perspective. The number 1 running back overall. Okay, I don't necessarily know how much lower you can rank him than 1 overall. This week in our rankings, we put him at 1 overall, mainly because he's going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he's a tier 1 running back rest of the way. I think he's a top 3 option. I don't know if I should bore you talking about him any longer, though. Now, going down to our next guy, let's look at someone that was very good in prime time in that same draft class. Obviously, Miles Sanders will always be compared to Josh Jacobs. The number 1 and 2 running backs in that 2019 NFL draft. If we're looking at Josh Jacobs, he comes out against the Green Bay Packers and runs all over them. The Philadelphia Eagles score 40 points. The Philadelphia Eagles right now are first in the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Philly looks unstoppable. In this contest, you had Miles Sanders with 143 rushing yards, multiple rushing touchdowns. Now, y'all know we had Miles Sanders as a buy low running back, I want to say about 2 weeks ago. If I'm going to be honest with you, though, I don't necessarily think this is a spot where we can say, okay, Miles Sanders all of a sudden is a running back 1 going forward. You still have Kenneth Gainwell, sadly vulturing touchdowns in the red zone. That hasn't changed. We saw that against the Green Bay Packers. And the main thing is, while the Eagles' offense is phenomenal, they are not going to score 40 points every single week going into the future. I think you get Miles Sanders dramatically scaled back. He'll still be a mid running back 2 for us. But now going over to some rookies that are moving up, Isaiah Pacheco looked pretty damn good against the Rams. Now, of course, this was the best game environment you could ask for. This was never going to be a close game. The Vegas spread on this was 15.5 points. So we knew that Isaiah Pacheco was going to have a nice workload, but hell, the first game of the season where he has over 20 carries, he has 22 carries, 69 rushing yards, and the rushing touchdown. With Isaiah Pacheco, this is now 3 straight games with over 15 rush attempts. You're really excited about that. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the IR. Now, I know some people got mad at us for maybe ranking Isaiah Pacheco a little too low this week, and I will say, well, yes, you can get excited that Isaiah Pacheco is the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. You need to be realistic with your expectations. Isaiah Pacheco has 4 targets this season. 1, 2, 3, 4. The entire season, he's had 4 targets out of the backfield. He is someone that in a full PPR format, honestly, I don't think you should be that excited about. However, if you're playing in that non-PPR league, he will still be a touchdown or bust option, but I think he will be a fine one. Now, going over to the other rookie, let's look at a Mr. Rashad White. Rashad White coming out. You knew he was going to be a must-start running back as soon as Leonard Fournette was ruled out. I don't know if we've had a running back on more buy-low running back videos than Rashad White this season. He gives you exactly what you were wanting as a pass catcher out of the backfield. The best passing down running back not named Breece Hall in this year's NFL draft. He has 9 receptions, 45 receiving yards. He's been used as a pass catcher even in games where Leonard Fournette's played. The man's had 34 targets this year, and he's caught 29 of them. Rashad White's been phenomenal, but I think with Rashad White, if somehow you are not past your trade deadline, he could be an intriguing sell high candidate, and I want to make sure that people have realistic expectations with Rashad White going forward. I know almost everybody who's a part of the flock has Rashad White on their roster, but don't think that he is some locked and loaded top 12 running back rest of season. I wish it was the case. I truly do. But I think this Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation is going to be very similar to the next running back we'll talk about in Dallas, where maybe you want Tony Pollard to go out there and be that 3-down guy rest of season based on what you saw in the contest where there were no Ezekiel Elliott. But with Rashad White, maybe we want Rashad White to be that 3-down running back based on what we just saw with no Leonard Fournette. However, I think that these teams are going to get their veteran running backs back in when they are healthy, and they are going to go back to splitting the backfield damn near 50-50 as they were prior. So with Rashad White, it was very encouraging. With Rashad White, you can be extremely excited, but at the same time, you need to be realistic with your expectations, and that when Leonard Fournette comes in, I think it's going to be a very similar situation to what we had with the Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott, and that Fournette, aka Zeke, is going to get their work. And yeah, let's go over and let's talk about Ezekiel Elliott here, because Zeke on Thanksgiving had a phenomenal performance where he goes through, he has the 16 rush attempts, 92 rushing yards, and the rushing touchdown. Y'all know a few weeks back, we had Ezekiel Elliott when he was injured on some buy low running back videos, strictly because people are pricing him in as if Tony Pollard was just the locked and loaded 3-down workhorse going for. You have to understand that these teams, these organizations have different incentives than just, hell, let's make a lot of fantasy football drafters happy. I mean, with Dallas, they're going to continue to get Ezekiel involved. It doesn't matter how efficient Tony Pollard is, but very similar to what we said a few weeks back when we were calling him a buy low running back. I think you have to be very aware of what kind of league you want Ezekiel Elliott in. Because if you are looking at Ezekiel Elliott, this is a running back that over his past 4 games has been great in a non-PPR format. Over his past 4 games, Ezekiel Elliott has a whopping 6 touchdowns, but at the same time, 3 receptions. This entire season, Ezekiel Elliott is sitting here with 8 receptions for 40 receiving yards. So just like we said in that buy low running back video, maybe you can be very excited about Zeke in a non-PPR format, but in that full PPR league, the target volume's not there for Zeke. You still obviously have the Tony Pollard role in this offense. So in that full PPR format, that's not where you want Ezekiel Elliott. Now, of course, with Dallas, I will mention that I don't know if the running backs continue to combine for this many points rest of season, because it has been ridiculous. And I will also bring up the fact that Tony Pollard did see more snaps than Ezekiel Elliott this past week. Tony Pollard had 44 snaps compared to Ezekiel Elliott at 38. Now let's go over to Rhamondre Stevenson, a running back that I have to admit, I was worried about what the Damian Harris role was going to be. With Rhamondre Stevenson, I mean, obviously he had been crushing for a long time now. I mean, if we go back just over the past, say, 6 weeks, you have 8 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets. In this past week, 10. He's been used like vintage Alvin Kamara with his target share. I mean, since the Chicago Bears game, where the man just gets funneled every single pass in this New England Patriots offense. I mean, hell, he's pretty much their leading wide receiver at this point if you're looking at the targets during that time period. So Rhamondre Stevenson, almost the exact opposite of Ezekiel Elliott, where Rhamondre Stevenson, maybe in a non-PPR format, you're not that excited about him. I mean, in a non-PPR format, Rhamondre gave you about 11 fantasy points this week. But if you're playing in that full PPR league, that 11 fantasy points turns to 20 real quick when Rhamondre Stevenson has this type of volume as a pass catcher. I was wrong to think that Damian Harris was possibly going to come in and see 40% of the snaps and 40% of the touches. Clearly, they have no plans to use him that way. Clearly, they're relying on Rhamondre as a bell cow rest of season. Now, I think we should talk a little bit about David Montgomery here. And with Montgomery, I know we've seen a lot of people getting really excited as of late. I'll say don't. I was very excited about Montgomery a week ago, 2 weeks ago, not that long ago at all. Back then, I was pumping up David Montgomery saying, okay, the Khalil Herbert injury is going to lead David Montgomery to possibly being, I don't know, a league-winning player. I mean, a running back that's a high-end RB2 in fantasy. Well, with Montgomery, we have bad news this week. I mean, I would say that you need to be worried about this entire Chicago Bears offense where Justin Fields is banged up. Darnell Mooney's out for the season. Chase Claypool, Equanimeous St. Brown got banged up as well. And on top of this, Darrington Evans coming in and having a role. Darrington Evans played 18 snaps compared to David Montgomery at 39. Darrington Evans had 9 carries compared to David Montgomery at 15. Now, I know this wasn't a competitive contest against the New York Jets, but the fact that they're willing to take David Montgomery off the field at all, I don't like it. Now, like I said, I was hyping up David Montgomery as a skyrocketing running back 2 weeks ago. I was hyping up David Montgomery probably as soon as last week as that skyrocketing running back. That's why I feel the need to go through and put him on this video to clarify our previous stance, to say, hell, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they do plan on using Darrington Evans in that Khalil Herbert role, and maybe this offense is just going to be so bad going forward that it's hard to get excited about really anybody here. Now, I think that's all we got for you. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in that comment section. And in that comment section, you can check out all these cool player props on Underdog Fantasy. The link will be there and in the description of the video. When you sign up for Underdog and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. So it's pretty much free for you to check out. Only with promo code FLOCK, you're going to get this a free Patrick Mahomes, more than less than half a passing yard line. I don't know if we're more excited about that one or Garrett Wilson at 50.5 receiving yards this week. But good news is for you, you can take them both. But thank you again. I truly do appreciate you. I really hope you have a great day, and I really hope we get to see you in the live stream tonight.